This is the Apple Watch SE 2, and it's currently the most affordable Apple Watch that you can buy. But it's a year old. So the question is the Apple Watch SE 2 still worth it? What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler, and in today's video, we're gonna find out. So right off the bat, the Apple Watch SE 2 comes in at by far the most affordable price for a new Apple Watch, $249. Now of course that is the starting price, and the prices can increase depending on the size. This Apple Watch comes in two different sizes, 40mm and 44mm, and also whether you decide to go with the cellular version or just the standard version. So like I already mentioned, the non-cellular 40mm version of the watch is the cheapest at $249, and if you decide to go with the cellular version, it bumps up to $299. However, if you decide to opt for the cellular version, you're not just paying $50 more when you first buy the watch, you're also paying for a monthly contract from your cellular provider, which could end up costing you a lot over time. So unless you're using this Apple Watch by itself without your phone next to you, I'd suggest just going for the standard version. And really, the only situation that I can think of for myself that I would want the cellular version of the watch over the standard version of the watch is if I was going for a run and didn't want to bring my phone. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can think of other reasons why they'd want the cellular version of the watch over the standard version. I just can't think of any of those reasons, and if you can't either, then go with the standard version. If you decide to opt for the slightly larger version, the 44mm version, it starts at $279, and then the cellular version comes in at $329. So even if you go for the most expensive version of the Apple Watch SE, at the time of purchase, it's still cheaper than the cheapest version of the Apple Watch Series 9. So far throughout this video, I've been calling this the Apple Watch SE 2, which in truth it is. However, Apple continues to call it the Apple Watch SE because it replaces the old version of the Apple Watch SE. So if you're buying one of these and you go to Apple's website and you're looking for the Apple Watch SE 2, you're not going to find it. It's just the standard version of the Apple Watch SE. So just to clarify that, because I realize there might be some confusion, and if you're buying this on a third-party reseller, then look for the Apple Watch SE that came out in 2022, because that's the most recent version of the Apple Watch SE. So in addition to the Apple Watch SE coming in two different case sizes, you can also grab three different colors of the Apple Watch SE. You've got the silver version, which I've got here. There's a Starlight version, which is sort of a gold tinted version of the Apple Watch SE, and then you've also got the Midnight version, which looks black but has a slight bit of blue in there. And all three versions of the Apple Watch SE come with the same aluminum body. However, with the Midnight version of the Apple Watch SE, if you get scratches, you are going to notice them. With the silver version, because the metal underneath the silver is the same color, you won't notice them as much. Obviously, because the Apple Watch SE is the cheapest of Apple's Apple Watch offerings, you do get the cheapest materials on any of the Apple Watches. I already mentioned the aluminum body, which is the cheapest body that you can get, and then the glass used on the front of the device is ion glass. It's still just glass, and because of that, it will get scratches over time. It might not scratch as easily as some older phones, but it will still scratch. If, however, you decide to go for the most expensive version of the Apple Watches available, like the Ultra 2 or the stainless steel version of the Series 9, you get a sapphire screen instead, which really doesn't scratch at all. I mean, I'm sure under some circumstances it will. It has to, right? But for normal day-to-day wear, you shouldn't get any scratches. Of course, when you're buying your new Apple Watch, you have a bunch of different options when it comes to wrist straps or bands. This is the cheapest version. This is the rubber version, which comes on the cheapest version of the Apple Watch, and color matches with whichever body you decide to go with. For the silver one, you get this white band, which works fine and doesn't even get that dirty. I've worn this for a couple weeks now, and it seems almost brand new. I also really like the rubber strap because it's super easy to clean. So if you're exercising in this Apple Watch, you just wipe it off really quickly and you're good to go. But because the Apple Watch has been out for so long at this point and they haven't ever changed the mechanism needed for the straps, you can use any strap for any generation of Apple Watch and it'll work just fine. Even with the cheapest Apple Watch SE, you should be totally fine. You could get the Hermes strap if you wanted to spend like $1,000 on a strap and $250 on a watch. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the Apple Watch SE, the latest version of the Apple Watch SE, is still a one-year-old watch. The Apple Watch Series 9 and the Ultra 2 were both released in 2023 and they're completely brand new. And because this watch is a year old, it features one-year-old tech. So when it comes to the processor inside the Apple Watch SE, it's got the S8 processor, which is a year-old processor, versus the S9 processor that's in the Series 9 and the Ultra 2. However, the S8 processor was actually the best processor last year and was used in the Series 8 and the Ultra 1. And last year, this device had the same processor as the most expensive Apple Watch. So honestly, last year, the value in the Apple Watch SE was off the charts because you were paying so much less and getting so much power. Unfortunately, this year, however, because I haven't updated the Apple Watch SE, you're still getting the S8 processor, but I've got to be honest, it's still really good. In addition to the S8, you've also got the W3 wireless chip, which allows for great range and great connectivity. I had no issues with it whatsoever, even when my phone was on the other side of the house. Unfortunately, the SE does not feature the U1 chip, which both of the more expensive Apple Watches do feature, which I'll be honest, in my opinion, is not a deal breaker. It does allow for some nice features like more precise finding of your iPhone and things like that, but nothing that's absolutely necessary. In addition to the SE not featuring all of the latest chips, you do also get the older second generation optical heart sensor, which was also used on the older SE SE, and the last time it was used on a standard series watch was back in the Series 5. So it is definitely an older sensor, but it does still provide a lot of useful data. So I guess the main takeaway so far in the review is, yes, you do pay a lot less for the Apple Watch SE, but you do get less features. But in my opinion, even though the SE doesn't have all the features that the more expensive Apple Watches have, I still think it's the best watch for most people. And that's because a lot of the things that people love about the Apple Watch don't require these newer and more expensive features. So let me go through the features that I use most on the Apple Watch SE, which of course are still available on the more expensive Apple Watches, but you don't need to pay more money to have them. The first and most obvious is notifications. The main reason that most people buy Apple Watches is to get their text messages and their emails and even their phone calls on their wrist. And every Apple Watch since the beginning of the Apple Watches have been able to do that. And from my personal experience, the Apple Watch SE does it totally fine. It's very responsive, very easy to use, and you can even take speakerphone phone calls on your watch. Another feature that I use all the time that I'm sure everyone who has an Apple Watch uses at least once in a while is the music control feature. You can control your music and your podcasts and even your YouTube videos from your Apple Watch, whether that's raising the volume or skipping ahead or pressing play or pausing or whatever it is you need to do on the Apple Watch itself. You don't even need to pull out your phone. It's pretty amazing. And again, it's something that every Apple Watch can do. In fact, you can even listen to your music on speaker on the Apple Watch if you want to. I wouldn't, but you can. Another great feature about the Apple Watch that pretty much every Apple product has now is Siri. So if you ever have a question like, who's winning the Ravens game, or what's the temperature outside, you can ask your watch just like you would your phone or your smart speaker. And it works totally fine. I had no issues whatsoever. A main feature for a lot of people is Apple Pay, and of course the Apple Watch SE can do that like every other Apple Watch, which allows you to tap your watch on the pay terminal to check out for whatever it is that you're buying. Super easy to use, both your Apple Watch and your phone can do it, so whichever your preferred method of payment is, when it comes to tapping something on a screen, you have two options. Another great one is the step counter and activity tracker. The Apple Watch does an incredible job of counting every single one of your steps and also telling you how many calories you're burning when you're working out. And even though the Apple Watch SE doesn't have all these fancy new expensive sensors and features and things like that, it still does an excellent job of telling you everything that you need to know about your workout. Some things that it doesn't have are an ECG or a blood oxygen sensor, because this doesn't feature the sensors needed for that. It also doesn't have a temperature sensor, so if you're outside and you want to know the temperature, it's pulling that data from your phone, which is probably pulling it from an app and not from the watch itself. And because the SE doesn't have those sensors, the sleep tracking on this is not going to be as good as the other Apple Watches. It's still one of the best sleep trackers out there in my opinion, and the SE is still the most comfortable Apple Watch because of its body shape and size. So this was the easiest Apple Watch that I've ever slept in. I also preferred it to really any of the other sleep trackers that I've worn in the past. So even with the cheaper version of the SE, the sleep tracking is still great. However, it does get a little bit more in depth if you buy the Series 9 or the Ultra 2. Even without those other sensors, it can still track your heart rate and let you know whether your heart rate is low or high, or if you have an irregular heartbeat or something like that. It's just that it can't give you more in-depth details than that, but for most people I think that's totally fine. The Apple Watch SE also comes with crash detection and fall detection for older people, which is a great feature. And one that I'm surprised that I missed is GPS and Apple Maps. You can use this to tell you directions whether you're walking or running or riding a bike or even driving. It's got all the information and turn-by-turn directions that you need on the watch. Obviously, if you have the non-cellular version, you do need your phone with you, but if you have the cellular version, you're fine. A feature that I really wish that I knew about and I would have bought the Apple Watch for a couple months ago is it can tell you how far off a trail that you're going and help you backtrack to where you originally came off of the trail. So I went on a hike with my wife in Hawaii and we got lost for hours, and if I'd had the Apple Watch, I could have literally just backtracked. It would have been amazing, but I didn't, so that feature was useless to me, but it does have it. Of course, the Apple Watch allows you to ping your lost phone, and one feature that I just found out about recently that I really love is that if you're wearing your Apple Watch, you can walk up to your MacBook and it automatically unlocks it for you rather than having to use Touch ID or something like that. It's incredible. It feels like magic, and that's sort of Apple's deal. They love making things feel like magic, but it is awesome. Not the most necessary thing in the world, but definitely a cool quality of life feature. And finally, the Apple Watch SE is swim-proof, as Apple calls it, up to 50 meters. The Apple Watch Series 9 is also swim-proof up to 50 meters. The Ultra 2 is actually swim-proof up to 100 meters. So if you need, 100-meter diving capabilities, get the Ultra 2, which you probably would have anyway if you're diving that deep. The SE unfortunately can't do that for you, but I don't see most people going down even below like 4 meters, so I think you're just fine with this. Obviously, there are a lot of features that you can add to this Apple Watch by just downloading apps. This also features Watch OS 10, which is the latest Watch OS, so you get pretty much all of the same apps that you have on every other Apple Watch that features Watch OS 10. But now let's get to the screen on the Apple Watch SE, which in some people's opinion is the worst part of the SE, and that's because it's just not as big or as bright as the other Apple Watches that are available. So the Apple Watch SE features a Retina display that gets up to 1000 nits brightness, which is pretty bright in almost every situation. It might be somewhat difficult to view in like direct sunlight, but that doesn't happen very often. You can just kind of move your wrist. It's not a big deal. The size of the actual screen itself is going to be smaller on the SE than either of the two other Apple Watches. And the SE is actually the only Apple Watch that's available right now without an always-on display. Which, while yes, I understand that an always-on display is great for a watch because you can literally just look at it anytime and see the time. However, when your Apple Watch is charged, you just turn your wrist towards you and the time will pop up anyway. So it's not a huge deal. It's just a nice to have feature that you get on the more expensive Apple Watches. Now, in terms of battery life, the Apple Watch SE2, according to Apple, gets up to 18 hours. I wore this for 2 days straight with no issues. I wasn't like going crazy on this thing and checking all my notifications and using a bunch of different apps. I was just using this as my day-to-day watch, and 2 days was pretty much standard for me. I've had this for a couple weeks now, and I only had to charge it, 5 times. As you would expect, the SE comes with the low power mode, which restricts some of the features that you have, but it does still allow you to get notifications and check the time and things like that. And then the only other thing that's different between the SE and the other Apple Watches is that this one does not have fast charging, which means it's gonna take a while to charge up your Apple Watch. You can do it at night if you're not using sleep tracking, or during the day if you're just reading a book or something like that and you don't need to check any health statistics. It's not a huge deal, I'll be honest with you, but it is something to keep in mind if fast charging is important to you. Well, that's weird. I just got a notification. It says, if you subscribe to my channel and comment subbed up underneath my PlayStation 5 unboxing video, you can win a PlayStation 5 for free. That's wild. I had no idea. I must have known that the PlayStation 5 that I'm giving away is right next to me. That's so crazy. That was dumb. I know. I'm sorry. If you guys would like to subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. We're so close. And if you subscribe and comment subbed up underneath this PlayStation 5 unboxing video, you could win this PlayStation 5 for yourself. That'd be incredible if you guys could do that for me. I'd really appreciate it. And I'd love for you guys to watch all of my videos. So turn those notifications on. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Everything's appreciated. Love you guys. Thank you for watching. Oh, and I haven't announced this yet, but in the very near future, I'm also giving away an Xbox Series S in black. So if you guys want to win this or a PlayStation 5, make sure to subscribe. In my opinion, the Apple Watch SE2 or the Apple Watch SE 2022 is the best value Apple Watch that you can buy right now. Especially if you're opting for the baseline version, the $249 40mm version. That Apple Watch is such an incredible price, especially with all the features that you get. And while sure, for power users, this might not be the watch for you, for most people that just want their notifications and to control their music and even use GPS, this is the watch to go with. It does so much for such a great price that if you're on the fence about buying this or the more expensive Series 9, unless you're looking for an Apple Watch that might last longer because it gets updates a little bit longer into the future, I would go with this one because this one's gonna last you a long time. It's got a lot of really great features and it's $249. That's an amazing price. So if you're looking to grab your first Apple Watch to get you into the Apple Watch ecosystem, or maybe you wanna grab this as a gift for somebody, the Apple Watch SE2 is incredible, and I've made sure to leave affiliate links to the Apple Watch SE2 at the bottom of your screen and in the description below. Not only that, if you're looking for a watch just to wear while you're working out, or maybe just to wear at work, just to get your notifications and things like that, the SE is the best way to go because it's the best price and it features almost all of the features that you need without having to spend a couple extra $100. So even though the Apple Watch SE is a year old, I still think it's the best value Apple Watch that you can buy right now.